Hello, and welcome back to Speak English Daily.
Hi everyone, we are very happy to see you here today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak English Daily. I'm Anna.
And I'm Mike. We're really happy you're here learning English with us today. If you enjoy simple English lessons that help you speak more naturally, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode.
Mike, I have to tell you something funny that happened yesterday. I sent a message to one of my friends, and a few seconds later, they replied with a laughing emoji.
That doesn't sound very promising. What did you write?
I wanted to say I was very busy, so I typed, "I have so much jobs today."
I can see why your friend laughed. That's one of the most common English mistakes learners make.
Really? I thought it sounded fine because I had many things to do.
That's the tricky part. It sounds logical, but native speakers don't say it that way.
So what should I have said?
You could say, "I have so much work today." That sounds natural.
Just changing one word makes such a big difference.
It really does. Many English learners mix up the words job and work because both are connected to what we do every day.
I used to think they meant the same thing.
Many people think that. They are related, but they are not interchangeable.
So today's lesson is going to help us understand when to use each one.
Yes, by the end of this episode, you'll know which word fits different situations, and you'll sound much more natural when talking about your career or your daily activities.
Let's begin with a simple question. What is a job?
A job is a specific occupation or position. It's the role you have. For example, a teacher has a job, a doctor has a job, a chef has a job.
So if someone asks, "What's your job?" they want to know your occupation.
That's right. They want to know what you do for a living.
Then what about work?
Work is the activity or effort you do. It isn't usually talking about the position itself. It's talking about the tasks or the activity.
So when I have many things to finish, I should say, "I have a lot of work."
Yes, you're talking about your tasks, not your occupation.
I think I understand the basic idea. Job is the position and work is the activity.
That's a great starting point. Think about it this way. Your job might be a graphic designer, but your work includes designing logos, editing pictures, answering emails, and meeting clients.
That makes the difference much clearer.
Here's another example. Imagine someone says, "My job is a nurse." That sounds natural because nurse is an occupation.
But if someone says, "I have too much job today," that doesn't sound natural.
Right. Native speakers would say, "I have too much work today," because they're talking about being busy with many tasks.
I can already see why learners get confused. Both words are connected to our daily lives, but they describe different ideas.
And don't worry if you've made this mistake before. Almost every English learner has said job when they meant work, or work when they meant job. That's a normal part of learning, and today we'll make those differences much easier to remember.
Now that we've separated the ideas of job and work, let's spend some time talking about the word job, because you'll hear it in conversations every single day.
That's true. One of the first questions people ask when they meet someone new is about their job.
Imagine you're at a neighborhood barbecue, and someone smiles and says, "So, what do you do?"
That's another way of asking about your job. You could answer, "I'm an accountant," or "I work as an accountant." Both are natural responses.
You probably wouldn't answer, "My work is accountant."
No, that sounds unnatural. When you're naming your occupation, the word job fits the situation much better.
Let's imagine another conversation. I meet someone at a language class. They tell me they're looking for a job because they recently finished university.
That's a great example. We say looking for a job or trying to find a job. Those are very common expressions.
So if my friend sends me a message saying, "Good news, I found a job," I know they mean they were hired for a position.
That's right. They aren't talking about today's tasks. They're talking about getting employment.
Here's another expression learners hear a lot. "I got a job."
That's one of the most useful phrases to remember. If someone says, "I got a job at a local bookstore," they're sharing exciting news about their new position.
I still remember getting my first job when I was a teenager. I was nervous on the first day because everything felt new.
Most people remember their first job. Even if it wasn't their dream job, it taught them something valuable.
Speaking of dream jobs, I love asking people this question because everyone has a different answer.
Mine changed many times. When I was a child, I wanted to be a firefighter. A few years later, I wanted to become a pilot.
Mine changed too. At one point, I wanted to be a photographer because I loved taking pictures everywhere I went.
That's another useful phrase. We often talk about our dream job, meaning the career we'd love to have one day.
Not every job lasts forever, though. Sometimes people decide it's time for a change.
That's when you might hear someone say, "I quit my job."
Or maybe the company closes and, unfortunately, they lose their job.
That's an important difference. We say lose a job, not lose work, when we're talking about employment.
Many students also have part-time jobs while they're studying.
Yes, and during school vacations, some people take summer jobs to earn extra money and gain experience.
These expressions appear everywhere, from movies to job advertisements and everyday conversations.
Let's review a few of them together. Get a job, find a job, lose a job, quit a job, dream job. They're all talking about a position or career.
We'd love to hear from you now. What job would you love to have if you could choose any career? Tell us in the comments and practice using today's vocabulary.
Reading your answers is always fun because everyone has different goals, and it's another great way to build your confidence while practicing real English.
Now we've talked quite a bit about jobs, but there's another word you'll probably hear even more often in everyday English, and that's work.
Yes, native speakers use it in so many different situations that it's worth becoming comfortable with it as early as possible.
Let's imagine it's Monday morning. Your friend sends you a message and asks, "Can you have breakfast with me?"
You might answer, "Sorry, I'm going to work."
That sounds very natural.
It does, because you're talking about the place or activity of working, not the name of your occupation.
So even if someone has a job as a doctor, an engineer, or a musician, they can all say, "I'm going to work."
That's right. The sentence doesn't tell us what their job is. It simply tells us where they're going.
Here's another expression I hear all the time. I'm at work.
That's one of the most useful phrases in daily English. If someone calls you and asks, "Can you talk now?" you might reply, "I'm at work. Can I call you later?"
You're telling the person you're busy because you're in your workplace or doing your work.
That's the idea. Here's another common one. At the end of the day, people often say, "I just finished work."
I hear that expression a lot around 5 or 6 in the evening.
It's very common. Someone might say, "I finished work an hour ago, so now I'm heading home."
These expressions become even more interesting now that many people work from home.
That's true. A lot of office workers don't travel every morning anymore. Instead, they open their laptop at home and begin their work there.
If someone says, "I work from home 3 days a week," everyone understands their working arrangement.
Here's another situation many learners will recognize. Your manager gives you a new project just before the weekend.
Oh no, that usually means a very busy Friday.
You might smile and say, "I have a lot of work to do."
Notice we don't say, "I have a lot of jobs to do."
Good observation. We're talking about tasks, duties, and responsibilities, so the word work fits naturally.
Let's imagine 2 coworkers chatting near the coffee machine.
One says, "How's your project going?"
The other replies, "It's going well, but my workload is pretty heavy this week."
That's another useful word. Your workload is the amount of work you need to complete. Sometimes it's small, and sometimes it feels like it will never end.
We also hear people say they're working late.
That means they're staying longer than their usual schedule to complete important responsibilities.
Maybe there's a deadline coming soon, or maybe the whole team is trying to finish a project together.
People often describe those days by saying, "It's been hard work."
That's a wonderful expression because it doesn't mean the work is bad, it simply means it requires a lot of time, energy, or effort.
The more examples we hear, the easier it becomes to notice that work usually focuses on activities, tasks, responsibilities, projects, and daily effort, rather than the name of a person's occupation.
Once you start listening for these expressions in movies, podcasts, and conversations, you'll hear them everywhere, and they'll soon begin to sound completely natural.
Now that we've seen how native speakers use both words, I think it's time to play a little game. I'll say a sentence, and you tell me if it sounds natural.
I like this idea. These are the kinds of mistakes many learners make, so if you're listening, try to decide before I answer. Here's the first one. I have many works this week.
That's a very common mistake. Since work usually isn't countable, we don't say many works when talking about our daily tasks. A native speaker would say, I have a lot of work this week.
So even if I have 10 different tasks, it's still a lot of work.
That's right. You're talking about the amount of work, not separate jobs.
Let's try another one. I found a new work.
That should be, I found a new job. You're talking about a new position with a company, so job is the correct choice.
I can imagine someone happily calling their parents and saying, I found a new job.
That's a sentence you'll hear very often. It's exciting news because someone has been hired.
Here's another one. I go to my work every morning.
Usually, native speakers say, I go to work every morning. We don't normally use my in that expression.
So even if I'm walking into the same office every day, I go to work sounds much more natural.
Yes, it's one of those fixed expressions that English speakers use automatically.
My next sentence is, my work is teacher.
That needs a small change. You could say, my job is a teacher, or I'm a teacher. Both sound natural.
That's a useful correction because many learners introduce themselves this way.
It happens often, and it's an easy mistake to fix once you understand the difference.
Here's another sentence. I have too much job today.
Since you're talking about today's tasks, the better sentence is, I have too much work today.
Because the amount of work is large, not the number of jobs.
That's the idea.
One more. I finished my job at 5.
Sometimes that sentence is correct, but it depends on what you mean. If you mean your work day ended at 5, native speakers usually say, I finished work at 5.
But if I repaired someone's bicycle and completed that specific task, I could say I finished the job.
That's an excellent comparison. Context changes the meaning.
I think these tiny differences are much easier to remember when we hear them in real situations, instead of reading a long grammar explanation.
I agree. English becomes much clearer when you imagine people actually speaking.
Let's do that now.
Great. Imagine it's your first day in a new office.
A coworker walks over with a smile and says, Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome to the team.
You reply, Thanks, I'm Alex. It's nice to meet you.
Sarah asks, What do you do here?
You answer, I work as a software developer.
Notice we say, I work as, followed by the profession. A few minutes later, Sarah asks another question. How do you like the company so far?
You might say, It's my first day, but everyone has been very friendly.
During the coffee break, another coworker joins the conversation. They ask, Who do you work for?
That's asking about your employer. You could answer, I work for Bright Future Technologies.
Then someone else says, Which department are you in?
You reply, I work in the marketing department.
A little later, your manager walks over and says, Can we talk for a minute?
You answer, Of course.
The manager says, I'd like you to work on our newest project with Emma.
That expression is very common. Work on means to spend time and effort completing something.
You smile and say, I'd be happy to.
After the meeting, Emma introduces herself.
She says, We'll work with several designers and writers on this project.
Work with tells us who we're cooperating with.
A few days later, it's Friday afternoon, and everyone is getting ready to leave.
One coworker asks, Any plans after work?
You answer, I'm meeting a few friends for dinner.
Someone else says, you deserve a relaxing weekend after such a busy week.
You laugh and reply, I'm looking forward to it.
In just a few conversations, you've heard several expressions that native speakers use naturally every day. Work as, work for, work in, work on, work with, and after work. The more you notice these patterns, the more confident you'll become when talking about your own career and daily life.
We've covered a lot of ground, so this feels like the perfect time to put everything into practice. Don't worry if you're still thinking for an extra second before choosing between job and work. That's completely normal.
The more you practice, the faster those choices become. Let's play a quick challenge together. We'll give you a sentence, pause for a moment, and then explain the answer.
Here's the first one. My sister finally got a new blank.
Which word fits better?
The correct answer is job. She got a new position, so we say, my sister finally got a new job.
Here's another one. I have so much blank before tomorrow morning.
This time, the answer is work because we're talking about tasks that still need to be completed.
Let's make it a little more interesting. Which sentence sounds more natural? James is at job or James is at work?
The natural sentence is, James is at work. That's one of those expressions native speakers use every day.
Here's another comparison. She found a job or she found work. Can both be correct?
They can, but they don't mean quite the same thing. She found a job usually means she was hired for a specific position. She found work means she found employment, but it doesn't focus on one particular position.
That's a nice example of how English can express similar ideas in slightly different ways.
Let's try a fill in the blank. After dinner, I still have a lot of blank to finish.
The answer is work. You're talking about unfinished tasks.
Now listen carefully to these two sentences. His job is exciting. His work is exciting. Both are possible, but they emphasize different things.
In the first sentence, you're talking about his occupation. In the second, you're talking about the things he does while doing that occupation.
Here's one more challenge. My father loves his blank because he helps people every day.
The best answer is job. We're talking about the career he has.
Great job if you answered most of those correctly. And if you missed a few, don't be discouraged. Every mistake gives you another chance to improve.
That's something many learners forget. You don't become fluent by never making mistakes. You become fluent by noticing them, correcting them, and continuing to speak.
That reminds me of my first job. I was so nervous that I checked everything 3 or 4 times because I didn't want to make any mistakes.
I know that feeling. During my first job, I was afraid to ask questions. I thought everyone else already knew what they were doing.
Then one day, I realized something surprising. Even experienced employees were asking questions and learning new things.
The workplace is full of learning opportunities. Whether you're a new employee or you've worked somewhere for many years, there's always another skill to develop.
The same is true of English. Nobody speaks perfectly on the first day.
Every conversation helps you build confidence.
Before we finish, let's do one quick review together. A job is your occupation or position. Work is the activity, effort, or tasks you do.
We also learned useful words that often appear with these ideas. Career is your long-term professional journey. Occupation is another word for the kind of job you have.
Responsibility describes something you're expected to do. A project is a piece of work with a clear goal. A task is one individual piece of work.
Workplace is the place where people do their work. An employee is someone who works for a company, and an employer is the person or company that hires employees.
Here's a simple speaking exercise you can try today. Say 3 sentences out loud. First, tell us what your job is or what job you'd like to have someday. Second, describe some work you usually do during a normal day. Third, talk about one responsibility you have at school, at home, or in your workplace.
Speaking out loud is one of the best ways to remember new vocabulary because you're training your brain to use English in real situations instead of only recognizing the words.
We'd also love to hear from you. Write 2 sentences in the comments. Use job in one sentence and work in the other. Try to make them about your own life because personal examples are much easier to remember.
Thanks for spending this time with us today. We hope this conversation has helped you feel much more confident about choosing between job and work. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep practicing a little every day. Small improvements become big progress over time, and we'll be here to help you on your English journey.